Directed by Angel Manuel Soto, DC's newest installment, Blue Beetle, is finally in theaters. We got to check it out tonight. Here are my thoughts on it. Let's get into it. What's up everyone, welcome back and thank you for joining me today in this review. I had a great time with this movie. Blue Beetle was honestly a lot better than I was expecting. Zola Maridueña did a really good job as Jaime Reyes, honestly really good. Maybe it's because I also love him in Cobra Kai, but yeah, he did a really good job as Jaime Reyes.
How do we get it to unchoose me?
Host acquired.
Who said that?
Systems checking. 3,
Okay,
2.
it's gonna be okay.
I gotta give him props for bringing it with that role. Honestly, the whole main cast did a really good job. Susan Sarandon, George Lopez.
You are a superhero, cabrón.
Adriana Barraza, who played the grandma, and she was absolutely hilarious. George Lopez and her are just two really hilarious people.
Bust it down, bust it down.
Nana.
I advise we back away.
Bruna Marquezine and Raul Max Trujillo really did a good job as well. They all gave such great performances and you really felt with them. Everybody just put on a great show. The casting was really spot on for this movie. So the overall plot is Blue Beetle is a hero that has transcended various timelines. It started off with Dan Garrett, then came Ted Kord, and now we have Jaime Reyes, who is the new 52 Blue Beetle. Dan Garrett was a Blue Beetle who used vitamin 2X, which is a plant that he ingested to give himself superhuman strength and abilities and kind of have a one-up in fighting crime against people. Ted Kord was a scientist. He didn't have any superhero abilities at all. He just fought crime using science, and he wanted to be the successor to Dan Garrett. And now we have Jaime Reyes, which I explained earlier is the new 52 Blue Beetle. Basic plot is this scarab found in Egypt is a hot commodity for Victoria Kord, who is Susan Sarandon's character, and this scarab is supposed to change the world and how wars are fought and how anything is looked at. So Jaime Reyes bumps into this scarab in a various way. He gets it in his possession, and lo and behold, he becomes Blue Beetle, as you see in the trailer. He and his family are now thrown into this world of just what the hell, because it is crazy how things work with this scarab. Once it attaches itself to you, it becomes part of you because it chooses a host. It is a sentient being, so it chooses its own host. Once it chooses you, that's it. You two are bonded, and the only way to get rid of it is, unfortunately, to find a new host, which, since you would be intertwined with this sentient being, leaving that sentient being would, in essence, leave a life force dissipating. Victoria Kord is trying to take over the company even more than she already has, and she wants to introduce a new age of warfare which incorporates the knowledge and the power from the scarab. Now, unfortunately, the way how she wants to go about this is very, very askew. So this scarab and Jaime Reyes work together alongside another character to kind of take down this entity so that it won't be used for negative purposes. There were a lot of great things about this movie. Honestly, George Lopez's character, Rudy, was top-notch hilarious. Kept me engaged the whole time. The whole family, the dynamic between the family was just so awesome and just genuine, and the way how these people had such great chemistry with each other, that really amped up the movie, because in essence this movie is your basic superhero movie. You got your run-of-the-mill villain who has another henchman do something for them. You have kind of like a redemption thing happen in regards to the characters that are on the good side or the bad side. You have this basic superhero movie. However, there are just amazing elements that embody this movie to make it even better. There were certain times where things kind of seemed a bit ridiculous, like closer to the end. There's some things that happen involving the family and some travel and all these other things, and you're just like, okay, that's pretty ridiculous. But I'll take it because this movie really brought it. I was expecting it to be good, but I didn't expect it to be as good and enjoy it as much as I did. It was very gripping, and there were a lot of ties to a lot of things in the comics and the animated universe. Specifically, the new 52 line of movies, the 16 line of movies that, incorporates Blue Beetle, and then there's a show called Young Justice where Blue Beetle really showcases in one of the seasons there, and obviously throughout the whole series, But once Blue Beetle is introduced in there, you get a really awesome villain incorporated. And then there's this thing called the Reach. Now the Reach is what Blue Beetle comes from, or is in relation to. The Reach has so many armies and people as in aliens, and just the resources from outer space, because they're aliens and they're from a different universe. So the Reach is part of the Scarab, is part of the Reach. That's where the Scarab came from, the Reach. But the great thing about the Scarab in the comics and in the animated universe is the Scarab has a mind of its own. Like, it's not necessarily tied to the Reach, it's kind of malfunctioned. So there's the thing that the Reach wants to accomplish, but the Scarab is not a part of that, and that's part of the animated universe. So I'm curious to see how they bring in that aspect and the Reach and everything else into the live action, because this movie was a good starting point for Blue Beetle being introduced into the live action world. The action in this movie was a lot better than I was anticipating as well. The special effects were amazing, and I saw some people talk about how it's like Arrowverse level, and that's absolutely wrong. I'm so sorry. I know we all have our opinions, and that's fine, but if you're gonna sit here and tell me that this is just like an Arrowverse show, I will look at you and laugh with haughty derision, because that makes no sense.
Host overreacting.
Overreacting? You kidnapped me!
Approaching. Engaging host protection.
And when we get in mode, I'ma dog it like I'm Cujo.
Threat eliminated.
Sorry about that!
This movie was a lot better than that. Honestly, it rivals the Flash movie for me. It is such a great and refreshing take on this character, and a refreshing take from DC in general. I'm curious to see what James Gunn has in store going forward, especially with this movie and how The Flash did kind of terribly, and just to see what his vision is for the future, because again, I love this movie. I would love to see a little bit of an Outsiders thing from Young Justice come in. We got Blue Beetle, Static, and then you have Geoforce and all these other people. That would be awesome to see them incorporated in live action.
Because we are them. Raised alongside them in the fallout of a scary metahuman world, we can be the heroes that empower them to conquer their fears.
So I'm curious to see what James Gunn does going forward. He's already brought in some things and ideas about the Authority, you know, which is a ragtag, brutal team of superheroes that enforce their own justice by any means necessary. So that's going to be awesome to see done, whether it's animated or live action or both. That'd be cool. So this movie, I think, is going to do very well over time, so I'm curious to see what this leads to. I'm curious to see what this leads to. Hopefully it's a little bit of like a Young Justice thing that we get, or just anything really. Teen Titans live action with Blue Beetle involved, that'd be this awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining me today in this review. I really appreciate all the support. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and the bell next to it so you can get a notification anytime there's a new video. Thanks again for joining me, guys. Until the next one.